Welcome into Operation Football. We are getting for week 8 of the high school football season. Hard to imagine we are already this close to the end of the regular season here in the Miami Valley League. As you'll notice, I'm missing the other half of this two-sports team. No Kaylor Smith here for this recording because Kaylor was up getting our Game of the Week previews here for week 8, and they were not close games. So if you can guess where we are headed for week 8, it is way up in MAC country. We're going to get to that game here coming up after the break of what's ahead for Game of the Week. But kind of as always, we'll start with recapping our previous Game of the Week, and that was from Week 7, and that was a thriller in the MVL. Everything we had hoped this game would live up to. Tippecanoe and Xenia duking it out once again. What we saw in this game last year was one of the best we've seen here in the Miami Valley. And between two conference foes, it was Tip coming out on top 35-21 last year, but it was 9-0 versus 9-0. Week 10, outright bragging rights claims, if you will, to the MVL titles. Obviously, they're both in different divisions, one in the Miami and one in the Valley. So Xenia, regardless, won that last year. But it was a big deal, and kind of same thing in this one again this year. And it lived up to the billing. Tip going on to win it 16-14 to stay undefeated. Now it's 7-0. It's Xenia's only second loss of the year. They had lost to Troy in another close one, 24-14 back in week 2. So the Bucks fall to 5-2, but no panicking yet for the Xenia team. They are still every bit of a playoff contender going into this year. But taking a quick look here at really how this game shaped up. This is where I usually defer to Kaylor about how this game was because she was there for Game of the Week. But it was a big night for Larkin Thomas. 9 of 18 completions, 124 yards, 2 touchdowns. Will Strong getting the bulk of the targets in action again through the air. 5 catches, 64 yards, 2 touchdowns as well. And Xavier Melton, the running back, 20 rushes, 93 yards on the ground, had a 34-yard run. That was a big one there late in this game, which ultimately set up the game winner, which we'll replay here for you so you can see it. But, Tip got out to the early lead, 6-0. The crucial thing here, Preston Harding, a soccer player, now playing, obviously, as the kicker with Tippecanoe, missed that PAT. So Tip took a 6-0 lead. They scored again, making it 13-0. Preston Harding making that extra point that time. Then it was Xenia getting on the board. Lucas William gets the catch from Gage Steffen. That made it 13-7. And then Deontay White, the powerful running back for the Xenia Buccaneers, getting it right back, doing what he does best, scoring a 6-yard touchdown run to put the Buccaneers on top, 14-13. So this one coming down to the wire, another photo finish between Maurice Harden and Matt Birdbacher, two of the best coaches in the area by far of what they're able to have these teams do year in and year out. But it came down to the wire in the final moments. We're going to get to see it here coming up soon after kind of we sift through some of these highlights. But how about the kicker for Tippecanoe? After missing a PAT, it's got to be in the back of his head thinking, oh, am I gonna, I gotta try to make this next one, whatever. And he gets his moment in the final moments, time winding down. The Red Devils drive all the way down to get into range, and he kicks through a 19-yard field goal to seal a 16-14 win for the Red Devils. We're gonna see it here in a moment, and we don't have the reaction from Matt Birdbacher, but it was fantastic. What he said about Preston Harding in this one, about what his young kicker was able to do, and it was funny to listen to what he had to say. It wasn't pretty, it didn't look great, but it went through the uprights, and that's all that needed to happen. Here it is again, Preston Harding, number 0 for the win for Tippecanoe, and he's fired up. What a big kick and a huge moment to give Matt Birdbacher's Tippecanoe Red Devils another instant classic win over a very good Xenia team as they improve to 7-0. They have not yet lost a conference game in the MVL since week 6 of 2023. That streak continues. How about 277 points scored for the Red Devils overall this year, to letting up just 34 on the season. So pretty impressive stuff for Tippecanoe. Taking a look at the rest of their schedule here for the remainder of the season, it's looking like it'll be 2 games that they should be able to handle here coming up in Week 8 against Greenville, and then Week 10 at West Carrollton. The one that everyone is circling, though, here, and likely going to be potentially game of the week, is Week 9 against Troy. Now, these are 2 other rivals here in the MVL. You're kind of looking at, Troy Tippecanoe, Piqua Troy, obviously the most played rivalry in the state of Ohio, the battle on the Miami. And Xenia Tip is a good rivalry as well. But Troy and Tip, because of their proximity, Matt Burbacher leaving Troy to go coach Tippecanoe, definitely a little lingering bitterness there. So this one, always a good one, and this should be one of the better matchups between the Trojans and the Red Devils this year when you take a look at where the MVL is. Tippecanoe, 6-0 in the MVL. Troy, 6-0 in the MVL Miami division. The next closest is Butler and Piqua at 3-3. So this is the MVL Miami division title on the line between Tippecanoe and Troy, and there is so much similarities between these 2 teams. 256 points scored for Tippecanoe, 216 points scored for Troy, both in Miami Valley League play. 277 points scored for Tippecanoe overall, 236 points scored overall for Troy. They've only let up 84 overall as well to Tippecanoe's 34. Again, they've only let up that throughout the season. So should be a great one. We're going to have our eye on that. Like I said, definitely game of the week contender for our very own Kaylor Smith to be at yet again. But looking at the rest of the MVL, it's looking like this should be Xenia's to take care of in the Valley on their way to a 4th title in the last 7 seasons. It would be a repeat, too, in the Valley Division for Xenia. They're 4-2 in the league right now, 5-2 overall. Right behind them is Fairborn and Stebbins, both at 3-3. And Xenia really controls her own destiny for grabbing that Valley Division title. Their next 3 games, at Fairborn, at Greenville, and then home against Stebbins in Week 10. So 2 teams that they'll face that are right on their heels, tied for second at 3-3. So if Xenia takes care of business, as we think they should against their remaining 3 opponents, they will be Valley Division champions for the 2nd straight year. Like I mentioned, it'd be 1, 2, 3, 4 since 2023. Excuse me, 1, 2, 3. It'd be the 3rd for Xenia in the last 4 seasons. So a big matchup for Xenia coming up against a 3-3 Fairborn team, who's coming off a 28-14 loss to Piqua. So Xenia going on the road and needing a big win there to kind of control their own destiny, like I mentioned, and kind of keep their hopes of clinching that Valley Division title alive. Taking a look at a few other conferences here, just checking in. We'll start with the GWAC. How about Springfield? Just taking care of business. 42-14 over Wayne. I don't think anybody expected, maybe except for Springfield, not a win, but to win in such dominant fashion over this talented Warriors squad. As we've seen, it was 3-0 GWAC teams battling it out at Heidkamp Stadium, and Springfield went in and made it not even really a close game from the jump. It was a 93-yard kickoff return touchdown from Sherrod Lay Jr. To get this scoring started for the Wildcats. So a big win for Springfield. Ever since starting the season 0-3, they have now rattled off 4 consecutive wins, all of which in the GWAC. Miamisburg, Centerville, Springboro, and then Wayne. They are now holding on to solo first place of the GWAC at 4-0. They're 4-3 overall. Wayne also 4-3 overall. Plenty of, obviously, hope for the Warriors to continue a deep run for the playoffs. Quickly, we'll look at the Warriors' remaining schedule. That was their first loss in GWAC play. They then next have at Miamisburg, at Beaver Creek, and then home against rival Centerville. So 3 very winnable games now for Wayne to close out the season. they'd be looking to close the year at 7-3 overall and kind of set themselves up in a better playoff position for the Division I regional bracket after this loss to Springfield. But yeah, surprising result there. And Maurice Douglas just has those Wildcats buzzing. It seems like every year we're talking about a slow start for Springfield, kind of reminiscent to that of the Cincinnati Bengals. Starting slow, trying to get their younger quarterback into rhythm, new quarterback, if you will. Typically, after Bryce Schottenheimer departed, there's been kind of a need for a true quarterback there in Springfield, but they're able to figure it out. They always have talent. They always have athleticism, fast, quick, physical players, and they've taken care of business. So a favorable schedule as well for them. An interesting one, though, coming up here in Week 8. This is not your grandmother's Beaver Creek Beavers team. Now, they have lost 2 in a row to Centerville and Springboro, but they only lost to Springboro 13-6. And Springfield only beat Springboro 14-7. So a little mirroring there a little bit here in the GWOC. But Beaver Creek having a better year than they have in years past. And there are 3-4 and 2-2 in the GWOC. But Trey Smitherman now in year 2 trying to get that triple option going there. And it seems like things have worked out a little bit better this year. They've had a little bit more success. And it seems like they've had a few other talented playmakers step up like they haven't had in years past. So an interesting one. Maybe Beaver Creek can give Springfield a little trouble. That is on the road at Wildcat Stadium. So we'll keep our eye on that one. Beaver Creek will then have a tough test. Their next 3 are tough, though, for Beaver Creek. It's at Springfield, home against Wayne, home against Fairmont. So looking at the rest of the GWOC standings as they are now, Springfield 4-0, controlling solo first place, as I mentioned. Then Wayne and Fairmont tied for second at 3-1. So Fairmont kind of like slowly crawling up from the depths, it seemed like, after they had a 1, 2, 3. They started 1-4. So they've rattled off 2 straight as well, beating Miamisburg and Northmont. So Firebirds trying to make a late run here as well. Obviously, they need some help from Springfield to lose, but those 2 face off in Week 9. That's at Roush Stadium, so that one could be potentially deciding for a GWOC title as well. We're definitely going to be at that game, and then it is Springboro, Beaver Creek, and Centerville all at 2-2. Really kind of a down year for Centerville and John Puckett's first year at the helm, which is a shame because Centerville has always been a very competitive team. They had lost 5 in a row before finally they beat Beaver Creek 36-0, and then they just beat Miamisburg 17-7. The Elks close at Northmont, home against Springboro, and on the road against Wayne. Centerville should be able to beat Northmont. The Thunderbolts still seeking their first win of the season, kind of in a rebuild over there in Clayton. Still kind of a tough Springboro team. That one could be interesting, maybe evenly matched between Centerville and Springboro. And then it's going to be a tough one for the Elks against rival Wayne. That has typically been a fantastic Week 10 showdown between 2 GWOC foes, 2 bitter GWOC foes at that. But at this point coming in, it seemed like that would be Wayne's to lose. So, and then it, of course, rounds out with Miamisburg and Northmont. They're still seeking their first wins in the GWOC. So that's kind of the GWOC as it stands. We're going to take a look at a few other games that we're going to have this week. We're going to have Beaver Creek and Springfield. We're also going to be over in the Ohio Heritage Conference for the first time this year. We're going to get Springfield Catholic Central at Greenon. So that should be an exciting matchup. We will have Fairmont and Springboro as well. We're also going to have a pretty exciting Swabble game here. Now, Oakwood started the year 5-0 for the first time since 2007. We covered that big game against Valley View for a game of the week there in Week 6. Fortunately, they fell right down at the very end, 20-19. They just suffered another tough one to Brookville. The Blue Devils still undefeated at 7-0. That one 35-14. So Oakwood now with 2 losses in a row. They're 5-2. And another tough game kind of coming up. Another 5-2 team in Carlisle out of the Swabble. So and implications as well for that Buckeye Conference title. Brookville right now, of course, controlling it 4-0 in the league. And Valley View also 4-0 in the league. We're going to get to see those 2 square off in Week 9. Going to be fantastic. Week 9 seems like it's got all the great matchups. Springfield, Fairmont, Troy Tip, Brookville, Valley View, and we plan on being at all of them, so be sure to stick with us. You're home for the best sports coverage and high school football coverage here in the Miami Valley. So Brookville and Valley View tied there right now. That game in Week 9 should decide the Buckeye Division title. Oakwood right behind at 2-2. Carlisle 1-2 in the league, but like I said, both the Lumberjacks and the Indians 5-2 overall. So a compelling matchup there. Franklin has control of the Southwestern title at this moment. They're 2-0. Bellbrook and Edgewood right behind at 1-1. Plenty more to talk about here coming up after the break. We're going to get into a few more of our games for the rest of Week 8, including our game of the week. Like I mentioned, no Kaylor Smith because she is making a far trip up north, getting those practices, hearing from the players and coaches about what we can expect in this major game of the week for Week 8. Our Operation Football Adamus game of the week taking us to the always tough MAC, one of the best conferences in the state of Ohio. We're going to have more on that and more games that we're having coming up in Operation Football Preview right after this. Welcome back to Operation Football Preview. I'm Joey DeBerardino, sports director here at WDTN, getting ready for Week 8 of the high school football season here in the Miami Valley. We've already gone through the GWAC. We've already gone through the MVL. We took a look at the Swabble. We're going to talk next about our game of the week, and we are headed up north, making the hour-plus trip up 75 to Maria Stein for Marion Local and Anna. Now, this game is one of the most anticipated games of the high school football season to date. As we know, Marion Local, the longest active high school win streak in the nation, 72 straight wins they are at right now. We were at that Versailles game just a couple weeks ago, a crazy finish, controversial ending, a game that Versailles had and perhaps should have won. We'll let you go be the judge of that catch that has seemingly went viral that we had great video of. But it's everything you want in this game. We've heard about how talented and young and fresh this Anna Rockets team is, and it's shaping up to be maybe what could be the end of the Marion Local win streak, which is dating back several years, and it would be something. So Anna, Marion Local squaring off for our game of the week. We're going to the MAC for the first time this year for the game of the week. When you look at what Marion Local has done this year, it's been dominant, but not as dominant as we've seen in years past. They beat South Adams 56-0. On to Crestview 63-0. They were losing 14-7 at half to St. Henry. They came back, won that one 21-14, stayed alive in the win streak. Took down St. John's with ease 61-0. Took down New Bremen with ease 40-7. Close game against Versailles. As we mentioned, that one coming down to the wire. Controversial finish. Looked like a drop catch. We'll let you go be the judge. But Versailles upset bid kind of spoiled there. So Marion Local escaping with a wild 20-19 victory there. And then they followed up with a 41-7 win over Fort Recovery. Their next 3 games are games that could potentially see the win streak end. And if it sounds like I'm getting excited over Marion Local's win streak coming to an end, it's not. The dynasty can go on as long as it needs to. It is a wonderful story. It's so cool that this part of Southwest Central Ohio has kind of this local or this national spotlight on a team. It's fantastic. However, it would be extremely interesting and major news for the opposing team, whoever that might be, especially if it's another local team and Anna, to go in and end that streak. So just as much as anyone would be, cheering on Marion Local to kind of keep that streak alive, as would everybody in Maria Stein, of course. Everybody else in Anna and Minster and Coldwater, the other 2 teams that are on Marion Local's schedule for the rest of the year, are hoping that it comes to an end. Just like the Patriots or the Chiefs, everyone is kind of rooting for a dynasty to end. And Marion Local hasn't let anybody really get close. This seems like it's the closest it's been this year with a couple close call games that we haven't typically seen in years past. So shaping up to be an exciting matchup. Undefeated Marion local, of course, against a looking at Versailles' record, against a 2-loss Anna Rockets team, losses to Minster and St. Henry. So it's hard to tell when you look at the MAC. Anna lost to Minster, but Minster lost to Coldwater and St. Henry. Anna also lost to St. Henry, but Coldwater lost to Anna, and there's so much back and forth. Fort Recovery lost to Coldwater. Versailles lost to New Bremen. New Bremen beat Minster, or lost to Minster. They beat Fort Recovery 20-13. There's so much back and forth, and it's a Wild West in the MAC really this year. So everyone has beat everybody really, except Marion locals. So that's shaping up to just be an exciting matchup, and Kaylor Smith will be there on the sidelines for Marion local Anna for our Week 6 Adamus game of the week. Before the show ends here, of course, we're going to take a look at some of the other games we're going to have. Also going to go to the GCL. Alter taking on McNicholas. Now, this is a pretty crucial game because there's a 3-way tie currently in the GCL co-ed. You got Baden 2-0, Alter 2-0, and McNick 2-0. Baden, of course, still undefeated at 7-0. But Alter and McNick both 5-2 on the year. Alter riding a 3-game win streak. McNick riding a 4-game win streak. So pretty compelling matchup there. That one going to be at Roush Stadium. We'll have highlights from that game. Like I mentioned, we also have Beaver Creek Springfield, Springfield Catholic Central at Greenon, Oakwood at Carlisle, Fairmont at Springboro. We're also going to be up in the MAC for Minster at Versailles. So that should be another good one. Like I mentioned, Versailles has MAC losses to Coldwater and St. Henry. Versailles has MAC losses to New Bremen, Marion local, and Anna. So pretty evenly matched game there. Both 3-loss MAC schools looking to battle it out. We're also going to be in the Three Rivers Conference to get Northridge and Covington. Now, Northridge is sitting at 2-5 overall, 1-3 in the conference, and Covington 3-1 in the conference and 3-4 overall. So plenty of exciting matchups once again here in the Miami Valley. But all eyes, of course, going to be on that Marion local Anna game up in Maria Stein. You couldn't ask for anything better. Could we see the end to that 72-game win streak? Marion locals got to be confident coming into this one, as they always should be. One of the best teams in the area, one of the best teams in the country for their division, and they're looking to keep this thing rolling. They kind of wear that win streak with a badge of honor. So can Anna dethrone the kings of the MAC and the state of Ohio? We'll have to find out. Like I mentioned, Kaylor Smith will be there bringing us all the highlights, full game recap, all the post-game reaction from that game. We're going to have the other 7 games. Of course, our band and cheerleaders of the week as Operation Football returns for another edition on Friday night. Be sure to join Kaylor Smith and myself, 10:45 on the CW, and then 11:10 starting it up on Channel 2 yet again. This has turned into an exciting high school football season, and we couldn't be more excited to bring you another week, but it's really going to heat up here too. After Week 8, Week 9, and especially Week 9 and Week 10 games have some really exciting matchups. So get your popcorn ready. Be sure to stick with us right here, WDTN, your home for the best high school football coverage in the Miami Valley. Be sure to stick with us next week right here on Operation Football Preview. Download the WDTN Plus app. We're going to continue bringing in all your favorite high school sports teams and all the local stories here as playoffs are, funny enough, already right around the corner. The race, the road to Canton, really heating up now. Joe DeBerardino, we'll see you next week right here on Operation Football Preview.